This is the Wing Woman Show. Are you ready? You're listening to the Wing Woman Show, and this is your host, Morgan Bars. Today's episode is with Jackie. She is the founder of NoMo Nausea, which is a natural way to fight off some very nasty side effects you may be experiencing, like migraines, sleepless nights, nausea, you name it. And she has created a holistic, natural way to fight off those side effects. And oh my gosh, this episode, there are multiple parts of this episode where I just got goosebumps listening to her story. This is a golden episode if you have big aspirations to launch a product business. Jackie did it with incredible speed, and I just really enjoyed listening to her story and just realizing how fast that her company has grown. I originally met Jackie at the University of Tampa when I was a student. I think I was in my freshman year, and at the University of Tampa, they have a very large entrepreneurship center where she was one of the community incubators. So they would give her office space. So she was able to work out of that entrepreneurship center with a lot of the other students like myself who are also starting companies. And we never truly had a sit-down conversation. So this is our first sit-down official conversation, but it was one of those things where we just passed by each other, and I knew of the work that she was doing, but I was still very much so a student and figuring out my own path and on my own journey. But her Nomo Nausea brand has now expanded across multiple countries. She's in Bye Bye Baby, CVS. I mean, this episode is incredible, and I don't want to give away too many secrets of this episode because I'll let you guys hear it from Jackie herself. So without further ado, let's tune in to today's episode. So we can just start by talking about the very beginning of your journey and what inspired you to start.
Absolutely. So I got sick. I threw up for 3 days straight. Nothing ever helped me. Imagine I'm in surgery. I've never had surgery before. I had an emergency C-section with my beautiful daughter. And I got deathly ill. Like, I was literally vomiting from the second that she came out, because it was what is called a splash and go. So a true emergency, got to get the baby out type of thing. Well, as they're suturing me up, I just start vomiting, and I was puking for days, like 3 days straight. Now, remember, again, as a physician and all my friends, they would come and visit me, and we're like, here, try this. We're going to give you this. We're going to pop this pill, give you this med, and nothing worked. And it wasn't until I was literally fed up, because I would go to sleep, because that's what medication for nausea does. It makes you sleepy. So I would go to bed, I would wake up and vomit. So I finally remembered one slide in anesthesia school about acupressure, which acupressure on the P6 point. And my stepmom walked in with a peppermint plant, and she's like, I saw this on Google, like, maybe this can help you. I started smelling the leaves, and it instantly calmed my stomach. The problem was, I was trying to breastfeed, and I couldn't, like, I kept dropping the leaves. I could never find them. And my husband has awesome OCD, right? So he's always cleaning. And so I'm like, wait, where are my leaves when I needed them? So I asked the nurse for a piece of tape, and I taped it around my wrist and would smell when I would need it, and then always had the acupressure point on. I went home finally, after kind of helping cure my own nausea.
Right.
And I went to go look for it. I looked all over the world, and no one had ever patented it. So just 4.5 years after, I finally was awarded the patent for essential oil-infused acupressure devices. So NoMo Nausea was our first, NoMo Migraine, and then the baby of the group is NoMo Sleepless Nights. And it's amazing because it's a way that I can use a 3-in-1 combination to instantly stop people from having nausea, headaches, and migraines, and in sleep problems. That works better and is clinically approved to work equivalent to that of medication. So it's been my dream ever since I came out with the NoMo brand to change the face of medicine naturally.
Right. So when you were first getting sick, was there ever a moment where you were like, oh, I don't need to make this into a product or a business? Because most people probably have great ideas, but they never take all the steps to make it an actual business.
Well, let me tell you, I've never taken a business class. I never took a marketing class. And I always tell anybody who does medicine or practices like dentistry, anything, gosh, go take a business class, go take a marketing class. I didn't know what I didn't know. And it was literally the necessity. I needed this product. I am always been considered a picky princess, because whether that was drinking 2 martinis, whether that was on a boat, I have vertigo. So I've always been like this person with a stomach, and people are always asking me, you know, why are you wearing your bands? Well, I am not just the inventor, but I'm actually a user, an avid user itself. And when I decided to make it into an actual business, I really started selling bands out of a backpack, right? Like I found an amazing plastics engineer literally after texting somebody from Florida. I looked up 3D prototyping. He, believe it or not, had invented the ketchup top. And
oh my gosh.
so he was very well versed in the area. He actually introduced me to my first manufacturer, and he considered it kind of like I don't know, like a good deed, right? We ended up finding that we were very well connected. When I was in anesthesia school, I had actually done, believe it or not, I had done the surgery, quote unquote, for his son. His son was an organ donor. And during residency, it was an emotional experience because it was the first time that I had ever on a very young individual. And I remembered it. And his son gave life to so many more people. So we were interconnected almost immediately. He didn't charge me for my first 14 prototypes. And then we finally came out with this easy to use band. And he's like, let's go for it, you know? And so I did. And I was peddling bands out of a backpack in the hospital, not joking. And then I had my goal was if I could make 3 times what I did in the hospital, I would leave, right? But if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So
exactly.
It can't just be my passion. It has to be a business. And in order to be a business, it has to make money. And so I was just driven and determined. I think also my family calling me crazy.
That worked a little.
Right? But he was my first hire 6 months later because I needed somebody that had some sort of business mind and business decision. And then I just formed an incredible team that was around me, because if you don't know how to do something, ask.
Right.
There's no harm. And business is truly the business of people. It's not about products. It's not about services. And so many people literally took me by the hand, and they still remember my first ever pitch. It was terrible. I honestly, it looked like a medical doctrine, right? It was like all words on the screen, but they were like, there was something about you, like who you are as a person, who you are as a practitioner, who you are as an inventor, as a CEO. And they were like, let's explore that with you some more. And let me introduce you to. And everybody that I've been introduced to comes in at my life in like the perfect timing. So I know that this was my calling. This is what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to help millions of people all over the world.
That's so special. And it just speaks to how connected we really are, and how even sometimes these wild ideas we have could really play out right in front of us with the people that we already know. Like you found the guy who literally invented the ketchup topper. How cool is that?
So cool. And the 2-liter soda bottle, actually, that design was his too.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So he's a special guy.
He is. Frank is amazing. And every time he used to come whenever I would be like around his area and do shows when I first started, he used to physically come to the shows and be like, hey kiddo, and bring his wife. And like, they would all high five me just because they knew that I was close by. So it's a wonderful
That's so
story.
special.
It is a wonderful story. And, you know, again, I'm so grateful for anybody who's kind of come into my life and said, you know, let's fix this. Let's tweak this. Let's make Nomo a real, like Nomo brand, right? Let's make it real. Let's do more with everything that we can.
Yeah. So from idea to actual holding it in your hands, what was that time frame like?
6 months.
Are you serious? I was expecting a lot longer than that.
No, 6 months. So it was crazy. I came out with the idea. Remember, I was off from work because I obviously had just, I could not work in the hospital for 6 weeks because I had an emergency C-section. So I was in bed, like literally I would take breaks to like breastfeed the baby, but I really was like kind of taking it easy. And you know me, Morgan, I'm not a
No, you're
So I actually wrote my provisional patent. I wrote it like it was like 15 pages or whatever it is. And I kept writing and kept writing and putting all my ideas onto paper and how I would actually do it and what that would look like. And so from that point, we did a few trial runs of what we wanted, but nothing like came out perfect. It had to be latex free. It had to be waterproof.
Hmm.
There were certain things. It had to be the right color. It had to be the right size. So we now have, two different sizes, as you know.
Right.
And then I met a guy at the skating ring who is friends with my baby sisters. I'm a big sister, not
Uh-huh.
just we're 20 years apart. So my baby sisters, one is in high school and one is in college. And at their skating ring party, I saw a guy that had a wristband of like, I was like, oh, and it was monogrammed. And he said, I'm actually the designer for PacSun. And I said,
Yeah.
perfect. Will you do my packaging? And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So he ended up doing my first packaging. Now it was a total nightmare, but it doesn't matter. I had packaging and product in my hands in 6 months. And then I was like,
Oh my
what do I do with
gosh.
it?
You are such a rock star. That is incredible. I was expecting you to say like, oh, 2 years, three
Oh, no.
years, or something like that.
Yeah, no, my daughter so she just turned 7 and my company like is turned 6.
Right.
So it really, there's only like a small period of time or a small window where I didn't have product. It was just me getting all my licenses and making sure that I was, who like certified, right? Like a real business
Yeah.
in the state and setting up all my
Right.
stuff. So it kind of fast tracked it, but I didn't leave medicine for about another year and a half, 2 years, I
Hmm.
would say, because it took a little while, right? Like to pedal and to push and to go to the different medical
Right.
conferences. And then again, I met incredible people that were, my medical wholesalers and my medical distributors, which medical is awesome. It pays the bills. It allows me to kind of do everything
Right.
else that I wanted to do. And then about 2 years ago, I started on this crazy retail journey, and now we're in 30,000 retailers. So thank you, Best
Oh
Beyond,
my
Bye Bye,
gosh.
yes, Walmart, Amazon, all the big names, and we're working right now on being Walmart's actually like at the cash wrap
Yes,
section,
yes.
to have clip strips. And then Target, I finally, after 2 years of really working, they really love our diversity line. There's a color for every woman's skin tone. So we have it
Oh my God.
for,
I am in awe of you.
yeah, oh my gosh, thank you. Thanks, love.
Wow. But one thing that I really admire about you is that you are at a birthday party for your little sister at the skating rink, and you're just approaching people. Like, you really went out there and made it happen. And I am a huge believer too in just connecting with people, even if there's not a direct connection right away. You never know where that's going to lead you.
Never, and you never know who they know. And that's
Right.
something that's always, I tell everyone. So what if you're told no? You're in the same spot as you just were. Like, it could be a yes. And I always say that a no is really not ever a no. It's just a reintroduction at a later point in time. And so maybe I'm a person that doesn't always take the front door, right? If you give me a
Yeah.
crack in the window or you let, like leave the back door open, I will totally take that realm.
You'll dive
Um,
in.
I have no problem with sneaking into a window. That sounds really creepy, I
Yeah.
promise. but you get what I'm saying. Like, there's other ways,
Yeah.
not just through the front door. There's other avenues. Just because
Right.
one, like, I love this story, but just because one retailer said no, it was a reintroduction at a later time that ended up working.
Right.
So when originally, Walmart was like, no, no, and then now they're looking for US based companies, right? They're looking
Mhm.
for women owned businesses, minority owned business. I mean, I'm a proud
Mhm.
Latina. And so
Right.
we Latinas are starting businesses 6 times faster than every other subsector group, including men, women, everything. And
Mhm.
so again, we're just not afraid. We're bold and we're proud of it. So it was,
Oh, I have goosebumps right now just listening to that, because that's so incredible. So you've definitely mastered the art of the pitch, because from your first pitch to now,
yeah.
so walk us through like what it's like to actually pitch to retailers, to connect. Like, how do you go from having a product to even getting in touch with them?
Yes. So from the very beginning, I actually went at it all wrong, right? I thought that I was supposed to just battle it out with all these rest of these companies. But there's an amazing thing called supplier diversity. And supplier diversity is actually divisions of very large corporate clientele that are wanting to help you. They're wanting to at least get you in front of the buyers. So once I found WeBank, and I'm an avid supporter of WeBank, which is the Women-Owned Business Council, as well as NAVO. I love them again also. But they really, through certification, allowed me the opportunity to at least pitch my product in front of tens of thousands of people
Wow.
that were trying to buy my product, or all of the supplier diversity who they ended up creating those meetings. So once I kind of figured out that at first I was trying to fish like a goldfish in an ocean instead of being a big fish in a pond, which
Mm-hmm.
then it was much easier. You get to know people, you go to the conferences, you get to meet them, you become friends with them, and then they're like, now's the time. This is perfect for wellness. This is exactly what the shelves need at whatever point in time. They end up setting up the meeting for the buyer. You have a good pitch deck. Again, it has to be at least 7 slides. Mine's a little bit longer, but it's very important because you're not just telling them how great your product is. You're letting them know why they need you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So everyone always goes at it as, oh, I'm just this little person. No, I have a medical mailer that goes out to hundreds of thousands of women from OBGYNs across the country. I just need more stores for them to be able to go and
Right.
buy my product, because for morning sickness, they need it. For second trimester headaches and migraines, they need Nomo migraine. They can't sleep because they're pregnant. I mean, that happens, right?
Right.
So it's all of those things combined that I'm able to show them. Then, with our influencer, with our direct marketing campaigns, showing them how we utilize, what are the benefits. My competitor was literally made before I was born. So, there wasn't the waterproof component. There isn't that instant relief.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't stylish, attractive. You don't want to use it on a cruise ship versus Nomo, you do. Everyone's wearing these
Right.
days. So it's something that kind of fit in with society at the right moment and the right point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And you then, after you have all of your statistics, like how much you plan on spending for marketing, where do your marketing money and dollars go to, what does your product look like, which is very important. I always tell people I first started with this on the shelf. The
See, that's
problem,
what I remember it as.
yeah, so the problem is that you are actually the amount of space that you take up divided by like the width itself divided by the amount that you are on the shelf and make per year. But if you can come out with something where I can actually fit
Mm.
2 of these in the same space, I actually am making my product now much more desirable on
Mm-hmm.
a retail basis. And these are the things that, come with time, they come with learning, all these other things. So product packaging is extremely important, and get the buyer involved. Put it, if you have a product that can physically be put on them, put it on them, make them
Mm-hmm.
smell them. I laugh because one of my buyers at CVS doesn't even have a sense of smell. He's like, I believe that it smells good. I'm sure it does. And I'm like, it's not just about smell, it's about what it actually does to the body. So I joke that even when you have your most uphill hurdles, they still will be the biggest champions for you because they want to
Wow.
succeed and they want you to be the next XYZ.
Right, exactly. Wow, that's incredible. So what would you say is the highest point of your entire journey and then the lowest point of your entire journey?
So the highest point of my whole journey was when I actually won WeBank's. It was called PepsiCo Pitch Competition. It's
Mm-hmm.
now not called that because I was on my way. I saw the other 2 pitches and was like, these girls rock the house. I'm still friends with them. I was like, they're definitely going to win. I was literally in the airport. And at the time, my husband was like, walking really slowly, right? Like he was,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, why are you, we're gonna miss our flight. We're gonna miss our flight. You don't understand. We're gonna miss. He's like, I have this feeling that you're gonna win. And I'm like, I'm not gonna win. I'm like, there's so many other people. I was like, the only thing that was beneficial, was awesome, was the fact that I had these, great meetings,
Yeah.
these one-on-one meetings. I was like, I'm never gonna win. And that was like 30,000 people. I mean, I tell you what, like it was just huge. they call me as I'm scanning my shoes, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, you won. Can you get back here? So I ran, literally, I had my shoes in my hand. I run to the front counter. Can we change out my flight to tomorrow? I just won this gigantic award, please. I got there like 15 minutes before, literally said my thank you speech. It's kind of like a Grammy, right? Like when you win a Grammy, like you're like, oh, I won a
Yeah.
Grammy. And I just started out with the most important person in my life, the Lord. Like,
Yeah.
it was the accumulation of an incredible day. It was the high point, and everyone remembers it. People still recognize me whenever I go into meetings, and they're like,
Wow.
I saw you pitch. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I've won a lot of other pitch competitions, but
Yeah.
resonated so much because that was the affirmation that I needed to get
Mhm.
me into retail. Because at that point in
Mhm.
time, I wasn't there yet. And so it was that affirmation. And my lowest point, I will tell you, besides obviously the COVID craziness, because
Mhm. Mhm.
that also happened. That was a pretty interesting ride itself. But I would say I decided to do something off the wall. It was myself, Taco Bus, and Budweiser, and we all sponsored what's called 97X, the next big thing, which is a concert with like tens of thousands of people, and it was like awesome. I was like, perfect. No more nausea. They're gonna get nausea from eating. Sorry, Taco Bus. They're gonna get nausea from eating tacos. They're gonna have hangovers for beer. This is perfect. I'll be solidified as NoMo hangover. We're gonna do a buy one get one. It's gonna be incredible. And we spent like $15,000, maybe $20,000 after it was
Mhm.
all said and done. Guess how much money I made? Just guess.
You didn't make your money back from it?
$70. I sold
Are
seven.
you serious?
I'm dead serious. So what I learned from that experience is, drunk college kids, they're not my target demographic.
Mhm.
My market is pregnancy, travel, chemotherapy, and cancer. And anytime I try to stray away from that, it's just not going to result in what I need, right? And same thing goes whenever I had first started my influencer program, where it's like hashtag No Mo Mama Squad. I thought everyone was going to get involved. The problem is that a lot of moms, even though they're great mom bloggers
Mhm.
or whatever it is, they don't think about what their kids will need until it happens.
Mhm.
Versus when you're pregnant, or you're currently facing it. So before I was like pitching to them, please, take my product, try my product. I'm sure you're going to love
Yeah.
it. So now it's like, oh my gosh, please, please, please. And they're asking me. So
Right.
it's an awesome kind of turn of events, but you have to know your market. And, and that just goes to show you that you don't know everything in business.
Right.
Sometimes I say you got to have, make it a speed hump and not a mountain. Because
Yeah.
imagine if I would have continued to do more of these radio concerts, because we usually do, marketing a year ahead of time.
Mhm.
Imagine if I would have spent all my marketing dollars in that and then figured out real quick, boom, that doesn't work for that target demographic.
Right. Wow. So what is something that would surprise people about your day-to-day life just running a business?
That I'm a mom also. That's true. Our wonderful office was closed down due to COVID. I don't really even know the status because we share what's called an innovation space with multiple
Mhm.
companies that are all incredible. But I will tell you that me being a mom, I make a little bit of time out for myself to Peloton for 20 minutes in the morning.
Peloton, yes.
Love it. Like, you can follow me at NoMo Nausea Bands. Like, I'm pretty easy to find. I'm all everywhere. But that's my time. That's when I actually get to think. I love taking showers. I wish I had a
Mhm.
vision board in my shower, because I would actually write with stuff all the time. The only
Yeah.
problem is the kids' paint washes off, but I immediately put it in my phone. So people are always like, you work on your phone in the shower? And I'm like, yes, I do. But I do. It's something that it really helps me to be creative. And then right after that, I obviously read the word for 10 minutes. So whether that's, some people do motivational, I read the Bible.
Mhm.
Again, it's just something to center yourself before, because in life, you don't know what's going to be thrown at you. And
Mhm.
everyone's always like, well, how do you, my favorite question, what's your work-life balance? It doesn't
Mhm.
exist. Don't let anybody tell you that it does.
Yeah.
People write books on it. And I'm like, It's BS. I still, it's not
Mm-hmm.
right. I call it like it's a fluctuation.
Right.
And I ask my kids, what are your non-negotiables? Same thing with me as a CEO. What are my non-negotiables? What are the things that I have to do? And it's just a weighted scale, the things that you have to do, you have to plan around it, and you have to make sure that you have a set time and a set goal, and that you know exactly where you're going before you.
Right. Yeah. So I love learning about so that's your morning routine and how you center yourself. What would you say is your biggest secret sauce success tip? Because everyone has their one thing. So what would you say is yours?
Pitch to them if they have a pulse. um, Seriously, business is the business of people. It's not products or services.
Right.
And I always talk about doing, right? Do, then say. So, do something, pitch to someone, tell someone about yourself, because it's not really, it could be them that could really help you to get you to the next level, but it is really the people that they know. So I always call it my 1 to 300 rule. I do things in sets of 300, whereas the one person like you, Morgan, will end
Mm-hmm.
up sharing this with at least 300. If
Right.
moving the 300 crew, right? And then
Yeah.
each of those people, when they say, oh, somebody got sick, somebody had a headache, then they kind of like preach, right, to other
Right.
people. It's really that 1 to 300 rule. But again, pitch to them, just talk about yourself. I mean, don't
Yeah.
be overly pitchy. I call it my non-salesy sales, right? Where you're just really trying to help people. You're not really
Mm-hmm.
trying to pitch your product upon them. I tell people, hey, I have a 30-second solution for upset stomach. I can make 80% of people stop vomiting in 30 seconds. And then I leave it. And then of course they're like,
Of course they want to know.
well, I want it. How does it work? So you allow
Right.
them, you throw it out there just as like there you go.
Yeah.
That was my little pitch. Coming back for more, and they really do. They reel it in. And then they're the ones who are like, I mean, I've been in groups. And this is my favorite. I've been in groups and people are like, what do you do? They ask me, and then someone else answers for me. And it's like, oh my gosh, Jackie's amazing. She
Oh,
actually
wow.
has a
Yeah.
product. And then they start going, and I'm just like, yeah,
That's me.
like, it always sounds better when it comes from somebody else, because if
Right.
it comes from yourself, you sound like you're bragging. And that's the
Right.
reason why I call it a pitch, not necessarily a brag, right? So, and you want them to be invited. So it's very important. There's so many different aspects in life. But again, if you don't speak about it, right? After you
Mm-hmm.
do say something, you have to say about it. You have to talk about it. If it's not on social, it didn't happen.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So what opportunities for you have come from showing up consistently, especially on LinkedIn and other social media platforms?
It has been an amazing journey, where others have given me the platform to be able to talk not just about the product, but
Mm-hmm.
about the culture and about the empire that I'm trying to build, right?
Right.
I want to be a household name. I want people, just like they say, I need a Band-Aid. Okay. There's
Right.
other Band-Aids, right, that are out there in the world, but we utilize that name brand.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want, is somebody to hold their stomach tight and go, I need a NoMo Nausea band. Or they have a headache. Oh man, mom, can you stop at the store and grab me a NoMo migraine? Like this is where I'm going, or what I'm wanting.
Yeah.
And I feel like that reach, getting out there to all of these people. And again, they join your journey. You don't
Right.
want mentors, you want cheerleaders. And that's the only way that you're going to get cheerleaders, or by people who have been there, done that. Either have shared the same pains of
Mm-hmm.
having, vomiting during pregnancy or after birth, or had horrible headaches and migraines where they
Right.
were able to utilize, or couldn't sleep with insomnia. These people then they don't just they become like avid,
Right.
disciples. I mean, I don't like to use that word,
Yeah.
but it's true. When you use something and you believe in something, then you want to share that message. And I think when we were talking before, the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of PR is that every person that I've ever been interviewed by has either used my product or has been sent. And I get something like, they'll send me messages afterwards saying, this was amazing. I used it when I went on vacation. It saved my son from having an illness at Thanksgiving,
Wow.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And so it's a wonderful thing to be able to help people, and then to hear about it after.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's just having something that is so deeply rooted in your purpose and your vision. Another thing that I love about you just as a CEO too is that you're so creative, especially with your most recent video. So talk about like the inspiration behind that video. And if you're listening to this, I think, should I direct them to Facebook to watch the video?
You can go to Facebook, you can go to YouTube, but if you go, especially like, or Vimeo or whatever it is, and
Okay.
anytime you put in the word NoMo and, Nomo princesses, pregnant princesses don't puke, right? Because don't be a pukey princess. I mean, that's really the idea behind it. But yes, it was an incredible, we were all on a call, and one of my employees, she's she's one of my VPs, she's an avid Disney fan and super creative. And I remember I said, I have this crazy idea. Like, what would princesses look like pregnant, right? It's not the happily ever after that everybody assumes. And I was like, I bet you Sleeping Beauty can't sleep. And I bet you, these other princesses can't, like Cinderella or whatever, would be waiting, not just for the stroke of midnight, but for her medication to start working, right? So I was like, wow, there's so many different ways that I could spin this in a NoMo type of parody. Well, one of my incredible marketing firm, Clickable Impact, Mike, who handles it, he was actually the understudy of the Harmon brothers, who did Poopery and who did Purple Mattress, who did Squatty Potty. So he understood the dynamics of being a parody. So we were looking for different ideas, and one of my employees literally said, look at this. She literally grabs a band and goes, look at this band. Isn't it neat? And I'm like, that's it. I was like, we can have a mermaid princess. Yeah. And it just happened to be after interviewing a gajillion actresses that the best one was my marketing team's co-founder, Caroline Castile. And she does an incredible job. Her past life, before she got in to marketing, right, digital marketing, she was actually an actress and a model. So it worked out perfectly. And again, it was just an incredible journey and adventure. It was a one-day shoot. We got everyone there with, COVID tests and masks and all kinds of changing out a gajillion pregnant bellies, with the exception of one of my friends who was actually pregnant. She was actually pregnant, and she sold it. It's like, because you got to see her belly. She was the Arab princess, and I won't say which one, but again, she didn't have her tiger with her, but she had her beautiful pregnant belly, and it was perfect. Oh my goodness. And so now that I think about it, if I would have gone back and related to Tiger King, it would have been even better. Like, I feel like that would have, you think of all these things that you can do there.
Yeah.
But it was a journey, a trip, so much fun. We as a team grew even closer, and now we get to reap the rewards and benefits. My goal is to have it viewed about 5 million times. I'm hoping we that goal. So if you haven't, go check out NoMo.
Of course.
Princesses Don't Puke.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'll make sure to link the video down below so everyone can just click right to the video.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Morgan. It was so much fun. And again, I always enjoy being in your presence.
Hey, want to have real conversations just like we are right now on this podcast? Well, you're in luck, because the newest membership feature has officially launched just in time for the brand new year. And a little drum roll, please. Our newest feature is matchmaking. So on top of being a member and all the perks you get already, which include bi-weekly group coaching, monthly masterclasses, a private community, we as Wing Women are physically going into the community and matching you up with other members on virtual networking coffee dates based on your goals, your business, and the new goals that you want to achieve in 2021. So rolling into the new year, if you're wanting to up-level your brand, up-level your business, and connect with a community of like-minded, brand-building, dream-chasing women, then this is the community for you. And since I'm interrupting this podcast episode for you right now, I have a little surprise for you. If you head over to wingwomanbrands.com, click on the matchmaking membership, and enter the code podcast, all capital letters, you'll get to try it out for free. So let me know what you think, and